Why does this matter? Why is the government so scared of this? The US government especially. Why is the government so scared of crypto or any other currency?
The US is $34 trillion in debt.
All-time high. We keep hearing that the government's tacking on 10 or 15 or this, and that this is an unsustainable level and we are going to collapse soon. I'm going to hit you guys with a truth bomb, and it doesn't mean that I agree with it, that I like it, that I am in favor of it, but I think it's important for context. So here's an uncomfortable truth, and I just think we need to know. 34 trillion in debt. I could easily write 34 trillion. Why it doesn't matter, but I'm not going to do that. It matters. But here's the thing. We keep hearing that this is unsustainable and it's going to collapse us. That's not what's going to collapse us, okay? First of all, and I am guilty of this. I used to do stuff like this because it was just easier to explain to people, but I was not explaining it the right way.
When someone says, think of a household, right? Right? They say, well,
I have a household, imagine if I spent, 300,000, but I only made 50,000. Well, technically you pay a mortgage and then you pay interest on the mortgage, so you basically do.
But you can't equate household debt and government debt to each other. The only thing they have in common is this word.
Okay? And I'm going to explain why. First, let's get into this. $34 trillion is a lot of money. According to, the actual number, we added something like $9 trillion in debt just in the last couple of years.
So for the sake of the argument, let's call it 9 trillion.
But inflation is up almost 15%. So the value of that money is significantly lower. So while you're adding a load of debt, you're not adding 9 trillion or $34 trillion worth of 2000 money. The devaluation of the currency actually values this somewhere at like 21 trillion. If you're, comparing it to where it was a few years ago, right? So what does this mean? Some of you guys are probably like, Stocky, great. What does this mean?
It means that there is no incentive for our government to stop
spending. Because why did we say the government wants to have control and doesn't want Bitcoin to get too big?
Because as long as the US dollar is the world's reserve currency,
we can print as much money as we want. And if we spend and go into debt, how do we pay the debt? How do we pay the debt? If you have to pay your house, you can't print money at your house. I mean, you could, but not for long. How do they pay for the debt?
They print more money.
They pay the debt by printing more money, which devalues the currency and lowers the actual value of the debt. Remember, currency, the only value a currency has is what you're willing to believe it's worth. And as long as the US dollar is the reserve currency, and the rest of the world will borrow from the US or will invest in the US because it is the reserve currency that everyone else is tied to, as long as they've got buyers and people willing to, because another misconception is that the other countries own our debt. That's the biggest fucking lie. That is the biggest talking point ever.
90% of all US debt is owned by US households. Okay?
China owns our debt. China's not even the number one international, entity that owns the most US debt. Japan does. And so there's a lot of lies out there.
So as long as
people will buy up US dollars and use US dollars as the reserve currency, the government will just print money to pay off debt, which in turn devalues the value of the money, which technically makes the debt value towards the overall, government machine worth less. And when interest rates start going up like they are now, and all of a sudden you're at like $900 billion per year just in interest, what do? You print more money to pay that off. And you keep doing that, which then lowers the value. And then when interest rates come back down, Then you print more money to pay off the principal, but you don't have as much interest, or you can lend out more money and go in more debt because it's cheaper. Now, what you're probably asking is, okay, Stocky, but doesn't this have to come to an end at some point? Yeah, but only when other people start saying, nah, I'm good. Because that's why everybody's like, oh my God, China's going to call in their debts and it's going to collapse us. Japan's going to call in their debts. Nobody's going to call in their fucking debts. If they call in their debts and the U.S. economy collapses, the dollar collapses, and then everyone collapses because everyone's backed by the U.S. dollar. I'm calling in my $500 billion in debt. Okay, but it's going to cost you your entire GDP and your entire economy. I'm good. But I might. You never know. I might keep you on your toes. So again, I'm not making excuses for this. I don't think it's good. It's not sustainable. But I just want you guys to understand what this all means. Because a lot of people hear 34 trillion in debt. Oh my God, we are about to, let me get my gold coins and my silver coins. We're about to collapse. And the dollar is going to be worthless and this is going to be my reserve. No, it isn't. Okay, first of all. Second of all, you can't carry it around. Third of all, if you actually have an economic collapse, nobody wants your fucking gold and silver. They want beans, bullets, and band-aids. Nobody gives a shit about that. Good luck carrying that all around and fucking, hey, I got cut on a rusty nail and there's no hospitals. I'm going to die if I don't get antibiotics. Do you have some? I do. What do you have to trade for it? This shiny coin that's really heavy? Get the fuck out of here. But I'll die. Should have loaded up on other shit. So, yeah. So when you hear this, and I'm not saying, like I said, it's not a good thing. The problem is that you are the big boy. You're the big, the big bully or the big, the hot shot. Okay? You're like the star quarterback. Okay,
The U.S. is the FSU quarterback this year, the 2023 FSU quarterback.
I'm about to hurt some motherfuckers here, but that's okay. As long as you are on all cylinders and you're kicking it and you're there, powerhouse. But the moment that knee gets taken out, we mean too soon. You start realizing that one player was a little bit more important. Everyone was relying on that one guy. And quickly somebody, a backup QB, jumps in there thinking, all right, well, the team is really good. We just need a new leader. It ain't the same. He may have been taking reps. He looked good in practice. He wasn't the same on the field. Then all of a sudden, you get snubbed by the committee or credit downgrading, and now all these players start getting hurt or they start transferring, and now your economy or team, you start realizing, should have protected that quarterback a little bit more. So there you go. That bring you all back into it. So yeah, so that's where it's at. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, it's great if you are the U.S., and it's great if you are a country that is tied to U.S. debt, and you can always, just take on more, because the U.S. is always looking for more buyers. And you're like, well, fuck it. Why not?
But that's why BRICS is so scary, but also such a
convoluted mess right now. Because they want to take the world off of U.S. dollars reserve currency via
getting rid of the petrodollar. So for those of you guys who don't know what the petrodollar is, the U.S. the
oil is traded on the global market via the dollar. Again, backed by the dollar. And so they want to allow the oil to be traded in a different currency or a different currency or options, whether it's, whatever conspiracy theorists, whether they're right or not, will come out and say, well, that's why Gaddafi got taken out by Hillary, because he was getting all the Middle East countries to start trading gold on oil on gold standard instead of the dollar, and they took his ass out. So there you go. Everything is interconnected. People are tired of getting their money debased. People are tired of a lot of shit, but they conform. Once again, I'm not here to tell you if this is a good thing, a bad thing, I don't want to tell you how to feel. I just want to give you info and you make a decision for yourself. But people conform. It's like I told you guys about inflation, right? When you hear 3% inflation, 2 to 3% inflation every year, and you don't understand money, you think, okay, well, just 2 to 3%. But my job gives me 2 to 3% to keep up with cost of living. Do you understand that means 2 to 3% from the year before? And the next year will be from this point, not from that point. And the year after that. So pull out a little compounding calculator. Also, if you are not constantly leaving your job for a better, more high-paying opportunity every year, 2 years, or whatever, and taking those opportunities and not getting into company loyalty, you will fall behind very quickly. This is why people on fixed income are the most affected group of people in the world. whenever there's economic issues. Because they have a fixed income that is set to make a certain amount, and they live off of a certain amount. And when inflation goes up, remember, 3% this year, right? Up 3%, and then from this point 3%, and this point 3%. This is how inflation works. You have one 10% year, guess what? Even if you were to get back to 3%, the 3% now starts from here. It doesn't start back from here again. But you're getting 3% raise at work, while this is up here. And it compounds way faster. And the next thing you know, that's where you are. That's where the price of everything is. And you might say to yourself, Stocky, that looks a lot like CEO to workers pay. Exactly. Because again, people don't understand. And that's why I'm saying, I'm not sitting here to make a political statement. But if you are sitting at a job right now and you're getting a 2 to 3% year over year raise, you are falling behind. You need to go find the people that understand that there is no such thing as company loyalty, whatever, and they're moving from job to job whenever a better opportunity arises with more money, are the ones who are going to be in this group and not in this group. Okay? Don't fall in love with your company never fall in love with you. You have to find a way. Either A, you have to take the money you are earning and make it go up at this level, or you need to make money at that level. And if you are not asking for raises, if you are not negotiating a higher raise and just taking what they give you, remember, HR and the company has this much money allocated for you, but they're going to start with this much money. They're never going to offer you everything they can offer you. Yeah, but what if I ask for more and they say no? Okay, cool. Well, then they're going to think I'm greedy. No, they don't. They don't give a shit about you. You're just a fucking number to them. Yeah. If you drop dead tomorrow, they'll have you replaced in 3 days. They don't give a shit. You got to stop being afraid of doing this stuff. That's why you're being held behind. You're trying to be nice. Oh, I'm going to show company loyalty. They're going to love me. They're going to give me a promotion, and they're going to see my loyalty and my service and my sacrifice. No, you know what's going to happen? You're going to do this for 5 to 10 years. You're going to think, and then you know what they're going to do? Somebody who's smart enough to be hopping jobs is going to apply for that job and get hired, get a 20 to 30% increase from their last job, and take your position, not knowing anything about the company. And then because they don't know and you do, you're going to be expected to work twice as hard to bring this person up to speed. All the while, you're working twice as much for the same pay as you were. And then 5 years later, you realize, I really f***ed up and everyone else has gotten ahead in this life except me. How much does investing with 10% average return alleviate that? Well, it depends on if it compounds, how long it compounds. Are you paying taxes before, after, and when the withdrawal is? I'm serious. I've said it before and I'll keep saying it again, even if only one person needs to hear it. Stop getting comfortable. Do not fall in love with your company. They will not fall in love with you. Do not think loyalty is rewarded. Okay? Efficiency is rewarded. Okay? Not only is efficiency rewarded, but companies don't give a shit about you. They care about what they're going to get as a ROI on their money. And they're going to lowball you. Okay? If you are happy making a 3% increase every year, just like when you remember I always tell you that when you put money in the market, when you're investing, it's not about how much money, it's about how much time. So if you're young, you're in your 20s, late teens, early 20s, even in your late 20s or early 30s, I don't care if it's $1 a day, $20 a week, I don't care what it is, just start doing it. Well, I'll start doing it when I have more money. No, f*** that. Any money you have that you don't have to have right now, start putting away. Because what happens is when you start investing money, this is what happens. It takes a while. It doesn't do anything. A little bit of compounding, a little bit of compounding, a little bit of compounding. And then towards the end, that's what happens, right? So if you wait to start putting money, if you start putting it at 25, right? Even if it's little bits, that little bit now is going to be this. So every little bit is going to explode down the line. But, well, I'll just put more later on. Sure, but then you have to put 5, 6, 7 times as much every 10 years to get to the same point. And it's the same thing with your salary, right? It's the same thing with your salary. If you just sit back and say, well, I don't want to cause any problems. I've got social anxiety. I'm afraid of them thinking of me differently. Or I'm afraid that they're going to think I'm greedy. Or What if they think that I'm asking for too much and they replace me? Or what if this is the reason they hear this and they were going to give me a promotion, but now they're not because I came in? That's not how this works. The people who are successful, I'm not talking about the people who are born with a silver spoon in their hand. I'm talking about the people who grind and work hard. You think they're the ones who just sit back and accept what they're given and are happy with it? No. Okay, but somebody spends 35 fucking years and wondering the entire time, why are all my friends making more money than me? Why are they all in better lifestyles? Why are they all in bigger positions than me? I'm telling you why they are. It's like asking somebody out or something, right? Worst that could happen is they say no. But you'll never know unless you shoot your shot. You don't want to look back 35 years from now or 25 years from now and realize I really fucked up. All my friends are retiring and they've got, estates, they got this and they 401ks and they got this I don't even know if I'm going to be able to leave work by the time I'm 70. Is the system fucking rigged? Sure. Have corporations been allowed to fuck over employees? Yeah. And do you want to know why? Because as long as people are pissed off at the corporations, the government's happy. The reason that the pay gap between CEOs and the people at the bottom, has risen so much is because of inflation. But they keep up with inflation. If you look at the average CEO pay over the past 30 years and you look at the inflation number, it's the same. But people at the bottom get f***ed over.
What you don't see on that chart, when you look at CEO pay, right, versus average worker pay, what you don't see is all of these people. And that's the people who switched jobs, remember, I showed you guys, I can't guarantee you anything. All of you guys that are going to be in chat, there's always a few people like, it's not that simple. Or, Stocky, that's not how that works. Or, Stocky, yeah, you make it sound so easy. I never said it was easy. But you know what's easy? Doing nothing and then complaining the rest of your life. Go to that website I showed you with the free certifications that you can get online from some of the biggest accredited places in the world. Spend an hour a week getting free certs. Add those to your fucking resume. Boom. Didn't cost you a thing. Did it in your free time, and you've already made yourself look more qualified. Apply for jobs. Apply for jobs you're not qualified for. Okay? Network with people. You have to make an effort. The idea that I got to sit back and things should come to me, and if they don't, I'll just complain about the fucking system, that's not going to work anymore. It may make you feel good, and it doesn't matter if it's true that the system is fucked or rigged. Okay? It is. But you got to do something about it. Right? I'm not saying it's going to work, but I can guarantee if you don't try, nothing's going to change. And that same system that you hate is only going to fuck you harder and not in the way you want it to. You have to do this. You have the knowledge. You have to do something about it. Shoot your fucking shot, man. You cannot get comfortable. And I don't mean to make it like a dire warning. I don't mean to like give you anxiety. You just need to get hit with the truth. The world wants you. The world wants you to be complacent and apathetic. A complacent, apathetic population is the greatest thing in the world for people who want to get ahead and make more. Less competition for them. More debt. The easier you try to make your life, the harder you make it in the long run, and the easier you make other people's life. Now, you may sit there and say, that's a very fucking capitalistic take. No, it's not. It's just reality. Well, Stocky, what if I want the system to come down? Work on making it change. But change takes time. And are you willing to sit back and lose out on opportunities and complain and be upset the entire time you're doing it? Use the system to better yourself in the meantime. You are not, unless you are in a very, very small group of people, you will never, ever break free from the cycle you're in. Unless you are investing your money and taking risks in the market, whether it's real estate, whether it's equities, whether it's some form of growth. The value of the dollar is devaluating so fast that you could make all the money in the world, all the money you'll ever make. Save it, put it away, squirrel it away, cut your spending, and it'll never be enough. And then when you do, and the reason, not only will it not be enough to get to a retirement, but when you get to retirement, you'll be broke and homeless within a couple of years because you have a finite amount of money that's losing value and you use it all up without it growing at the same time. The inflation will cool down. Whale blast, I'm going to assume that you're saying that in general because you sound really, really out of touch with that. Here's the thing. You sound smart. Okay. You're making it sound like inflation will come down. Inflation will never come down. The growth of inflation can slow down. But do you understand what that means? 3% year over year. 3% year over year, right? Compounding. You have a 10% year. You think that it's going to come back down to here? No. It just compounds even faster. Inflation is not going to cool down. It's not going to come down. They're trying to get it back to a 3% compounding over. But go to your portfolio and add a 10% year and then compound 5% from that every year for the next 20 years versus not that one 10% year. The difference is like that. It won't go back to fucking 30%. 30% from what? Year over year? Or from a specific point? I'm talking about over the course of your life. Year over year? Who said the word 30%? Did I say the word 30% any time in the last hour? I literally think he's just trolling. There's no way. There's no way this guy thinks that, well, it's okay. You're wrong. Inflation's going to cool. The pace at which it's increasing may cool, but inflation itself is never going to cool. All you have to do is take one 10% inflation year and never have another thing over the 3%, right? And over the course of 30 years, the value of your dollar is probably down an additional 50% just because of one 10% year. That's how crazy that is. Wasn't year over year under 4%? Well, I just said 3%. The Fed targets 2%, and that's how they count their inflation. They don't always count it the way I think. It depends. Like, changing up what we account in there or not accounting for gas and fuel prices. Like right now, inflation prices are kind of down based on how much things cost because gas prices are down significantly. But why are gas prices down significantly? Because the U.S. is now pumping out 13 million barrels of oil per day, the number one, pumper in the world right now. Despite the fact that we're supposed to be cutting down on fossil fuels, like this administration, not to get into politics, but I found it funny how this administration was like, we're going to cut fossil fuels, we're going to go green energy, we're going to take our reliance, we're going to cut down the drilling, we're going to do this, and now we're sitting at the highest output of oil in human history or United States history, and we're the number one exporter, the number one in the world right now. Ignore him. He knows you're nice, and he's trying to be an asshole. You are too nice. I'm not nice. It's just when I'm making a point and somebody's like, you know what? I'm going to try and derail this for no other reason than just because I know it'll do it. That's all it is. It's like they want to derail the conversation. They know they're not adding anything to it. And then there's somebody out there who's learning who's like, this guy ruined it. Yeah, the average American just looks at gas prices. Well, gas prices are really, really, really important because I did a YouTube video on it. Oil is never going anywhere. Even if you cut it off as a significant portion of fuel, which we're not ready for because the sustainability of green energy is just not where the population is not ready for where our population is. But everything else is made. I mean, everything we have is petroleum based. This board, this marker, this, my clothes, this, okay? This computer screen, everything has petroleum in it at some point. So while that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to ease our the reliance on it, whatever, it's not like this. Because we only think of, when we think of getting rid of oil, we think of barrels of oil, we think of the Texas oil fields, we think of the Iraqi oil fields on fire. Like that's what we see. We see the oil spill in the Gulf, we see that. But we don't see, the craziest thing is all the
used to clean up the oil spill was made in some part by oil. Like it's a crazy reliance that the entire human species has been on that is taken, a long time to get on. The algae they found were wild though that eat oil. Oh yeah, I mean they've also bred worms to eat styrofoam. But the amount of algae we would need to do that, they would just eventually start eating us because there would be that much of it. Or the algae would actually kill us off because we would need so much algae that it would suck in all the fucking oxygen or all the carbon dioxide and we wouldn't be able to breathe. All right. I don't know if that whiteboard, I don't remember everything we talked about. I don't remember how many subjects we covered and how much of it actually got across without me getting on little tangents and having to come back. I don't remember anything for the past hour. If we had more oxygen in the air, we would breathe better. Hi, I'm a new viewer. What is your experience in the financial sector? What are your credentials? My credentials? I'm an idiot with a camera who just likes money. If you're asking, did I pay $200,000 to go to a sponsored university to memorize questions on a test that the answers came from 20-year-old outdated economic books, then no. If you're asking if I go on different news shows and give random predictions without admitting it's just a guess and then being wrong and disappearing, then no. If you ask if I've ever worked for Wall Street, you're just asking if I've ever been a salesman, which I guess technically I have, so I have that in common with everybody who works on Wall Street. I'm just some idiot with a camera who has nothing to gain, no agenda, so I can just be honest with you, tell you how things are and the way I think things are, while reminding you that everybody's guessing. I'm not trying to sell you anything, so it makes it easy. That's my credentials. But the thing is because of that, I could probably give you unbiased information. Deliver the same information, but very unbiased. I only have two biases in this world. Number one, pineapple can never go on a pizza. And number two, The Office is the most overrated TV show in television history. And once again, overrated does not mean bad. It's a good show. It's just overrated because everyone says it's the greatest show of all time. I don't think it is, and therefore, that means it's overrated.